Hey, fourth graders, this is Miss McAtee, and I'm here to show you a little bit about division. So we learned this already this year, but we wanted to put up a video to help you review some of the strategies that we've learned in the past. So I have a little anchor chart here that I'm going to walk through with you to kind of help you review the three methods that we have used so far. So we're going to start right up here with models. Okay, when we are using models, we think of models as pictures or diagrams to help us solve what we want to solve. So if we are dividing 54 by 4, you're going to think of how many groups am I going to need? And when we are making our groups, we always look at our smaller number. So in this case, it's 4. Okay, so you could see I had my first group here, my second group, my third group, and my fourth group. You could also think of this as you had 54 pieces of star-shaped candy, and you had 4 friends that you wanted to split this candy up between. So you would want to make sure that you had 4 equal groups, right? So we would start by counting. So you'd start with your first group, and we would go one by one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We'd keep going and going and going until we got to our last star in our fourth group down here, and that was 52 of them. Okay, so if we end at 52, I know up top I have 54. So I'm going to have 53 and 54 that are outside of the group because we're not going to fit equally in all 4 groups because there's only 2 of them. So this tells us that we have a remainder. Okay, so my remainder is 2. So then a lot of you would probably ask, well, Miss McAtee, how do I know like how many I have for my actual answer? Well, here's what we would do. We already decided that our remainder was 2 due to these 2 stars, right? Well, to find our answer, we would go back and look at just one of the groups. It doesn't matter which group you pick because they should all have equal amounts in them if you did it correctly. I always just look at my first group. So we would count, how many stars do I have in just my first group? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I had 13 in each group, which tells me that my answer should be 13. Okay, so altogether, my answer would be 13 remainder 2, because there were 13 in each group with 2 left over. Okay, the second way would be over here with repeated subtraction. This is when we look at our smaller number. In this problem, it's a 5. And we're going to subtract it over and over and over again until we get as small as we can get. So I start with 25 divided by 5. I take 5 away for the first time. 25 minus 5 gives me 20. I take it away for the second time. 20 minus 5 gives me 15. Take it away again for the third time. 15 minus 5 gets me to 10. I move my problem over so that we can have more room, so I'm still at 10. I take 5 away the fourth time, and that leaves me with 5. And I take it away one more time for the 5th time, which gets me to 0. So this 0 shows us that we have no remainder, because there's 0 left. There's nothing left over. To find my answer, I look at how many times did I have to subtract 5? Well, we had to subtract 5 times. So my answer is 5. Remember, I'll show you in purple, but a great way to check your division is to think of multiplication and go backwards. So if I start at 5 and I times it by 5, I'm going to get 25. So that's how we know that 5 is the right answer. Okay? All right. right, and then we have my favorite method, the hang 7. So that's on the bottom. There are two examples of hang 7. We have one with no remainder and one with the remainder. So for right now, we're going to start with no remainder. With hang 7, there are a couple important steps you need to remember. Okay, you have to make your 7. So this is our 7 part right there that I've made in blue. So it looks like a 7, kind of like when you play hangman, you have that 7 shape. Okay, that's why it's called hang 7. So we are going to start with our problem. We have 225 divided by 5. So just like we did in the last problem, I will write that out. So I have 225 divided by 5. Okay. Now, normally in your problem, you wouldn't have this already done, right? You would be thinking of these on your own. But the first step we're going to do, before we worry at all about any of the stuff below, is we're going to go over here to our side. And we're going to pretend like this 40 is not here. We're going to pretend like it's blank, okay? And we're going to ask ourselves 3 questions. The first one is, what is an easy number that I could multiply by, in this case, we're doing it by 5, because 5 is our smaller number. That gets me close to 225. Okay, so those are the 3 questions you're going to ask yourself. What's an easy number I can multiply by 5 to get me close to 225? So before I solved this, I thought of 50. I was like, okay, well, 5 times 5 is 25, plus a 0, that's 225. That'd be too much, because we only have 225. So I bumped it down, and I'm like, let's try 40. Okay, so 40 times 5, we can think of that by taking our 0 off. 4 times 5 is 20. And then we can add our 0 back on. So that got me 200. So now we can subtract. So 225 minus 200 leaves me with 25. Okay. So then we'll do the same thing again. So we go next door over to our circle, and we ask ourselves the same 3 questions. We ask, what is an easy number that I can multiply by 5 that this time gets me close to 25? Okay, because that's what we have left. If you think we don't have any of this yet, right? 25 is where we're at right now. Okay, so we would take that thought, and I would think, what times 5 gets me to 25? Oh yeah, 5. So I took 5 out on the side that I would multiply by 5 to get me 25. So when we subtract, we know 25 minus 25 is 0. So again, just like above, this tells us we have no remainders. There's nothing left over. Okay. The last step to find our answers, we go back to our circle and we add all the numbers inside of it together. So in this case, we have 40 and we have 5. So 40 plus 5 is 45. So our answer to the problem is 45. And we don't have a remainder. Okay, so now over here on the remainder side, same exact thing and same exact steps, except we're going to figure out what happens when we have a remainder and how we know that it's a remainder. So if we have 421 divided by 4, I start by writing it out. I go next door and I ask my 3 questions. What is an easy number that I could multiply by 4, because 4s are a smaller number in this problem, that gets me close to 421. Okay, this one was pretty easy for me because I was like, oh, 100, that's the perfect easy number. If I have 100 4 times, that's 400. Okay, so if you haven't caught on yet to this, whatever number we put in the circle, we take it and we times it by 4, that smaller number, okay? So that's what the circle numbers are helping us with. So 100 times 4 gets me 400. So then we can subtract. So if I have 1 minus 0, that's 1. 2 minus 0 is 2. And 4 minus 4, well, we can't really write anything for that because that's just 0. So our answer is 21. We do the same thing again. What is an easy number that I can multiply by 4 that this time will get me as close as I can to 21? Well, I know 4 times a number is not 21 equally. Like there's nothing that goes into 21 when you're counting by 4s, okay? But I do know that 4 times 5 is really close. So I chose 5. 4 times 5 is 20. So I write 20 down, and then I subtract. 1 minus 0 is 1, and 2 minus 2 is 0, so we don't have to put that down. So when you get to a number, for example, we have 1 down here on the bottom. When that number is smaller than your original small number, so ours was 4, you know that's the remainder. Okay, so we know there's going to be 1 left over. So our remainder is 1. If this number down here would be bigger than 4, then we'd keep going, right? We would do our 3 steps again. But we can't do that with 1 because 1 is smaller than 4. So 1 is our remainder, and the same as last time, to find our answer, we look in our circle and we add them. So 100 plus 5 would give us 105. Okay, so my answer is 105, remainder 1. So again, these are the 3 methods that we've used this year. Please feel free to use these. Practice, practice, practice. If you do some problems, it'd be awesome if you'd post them on Seesaw, post them on Google Classroom, whatever will help you to share those with us so that we can help you and give you some feedback and just to see that you're doing well. And as always, if you ever have any questions, reach out to your teacher. Have a great day, 4th graders. We'll see you later.